You have 15% of all hotels outside the M50 are contracted to the state currently.
Aontú leader Peadar Tóibín has said that the government has been absolutely terrible, in his words, at managing immigration, and warned of further breakdown in social cohesion if it does not get to grips with the issue.
There's no doubt that the government have been pulled kicking and screaming in relation to trying to implement a common sense immigration policy in this country. And I think the government is a good distance behind where the people are. People want to help those who are fleeing war and violence, but they want a strict system that doesn't allow people abuse the system. And, you know, even the figures currently being released by the Department of Justice are startling. 80% of people currently in the system are now failing the first adjudication of their application. That's an incredible figure, and it's up from about 35% 4 years ago. Now,
tightening the process like this, no automatic right to a full oral hearing, and imposing a 3-month deadline for asylum decisions, is that good? I mean, or is it cruel, as Gary Gannon says?
Well, what I want to see is the necessary resources being put into the system so that can expedite those decisions. And, you know, the idea that we have 2.5 years for people to go through the process and then have a possibility where they can carry out a judicial review in the High Court, which will last another number of years. Remember, the state...
And nobody's contesting that, though. I mean, the point... let's take the oral hearing, for example. They could be, as Gary Gannon says, trying to explain in their own language in this oral hearing of a trauma they suffered in their own country that they don't want to return to. Surely they should have that right, no?
But it doesn't take 3 months to have that conversation. It cannot take 3 months for a person to be interviewed and for their information to be communicated. It shouldn't take 3 weeks for that information to be communicated, to be honest. If you have the necessary staff, resources to be able to get those interviews and to be able to check those interviews in that time span, well, that's enough. Like,
is that a fair point, Gary Gannon? It's down to resources here. It's not cruel if the resources are there.
Yeah, and the Minister didn't outline today what type of resources would be allocated to a system like this.
We're spending €1 billion a year on accommodating asylum applicants. We know that 80% of asylum applicants are now failing in their application on the first test. And I would suggest that one of the reasons why we're seeing a fall in the number of applications coming through is because the government have got stricter in terms of those tests. And there's no doubt in my mind that the message that has been sent out by this government over the years is that if you come to Ireland, your application will last for 4, 5, 6 years. Even if you get a deportation order and you fail, the government will not, in the vast majority of cases, deport you in those situations. And when you have a message going out in those terms, many people see that as that Ireland becomes a soft touch in relation to immigration. And what you have is, for sure, you have people who are fleeing war and violence, but you also have people who are coming to Ireland for economic reasons using that system. Now, we have economic visas in this country. That is the way people should come into the country in terms of working in this country. People should not be using the system of asylum. Like you mentioned the tourism industry a couple of minutes ago. You have 15% of all hotels outside the M50 are contracted to the state currently. Like that has a negative effect on all of the downstream tourism incomes of all the people who work in the cafes and the restaurants and the adventure centres and all those towns and villages across the country.
And the government says they're trying to fix that model, of course. That happened because of exigency. That's their line on that, I think. But it's a balance here, isn't it, Gary, between being a soft touch, in Peadar's words, and being fair. I mean, is this not simply the fact that Peadar has outlined, the fact that 80% of asylum applications fail in the first test? Are we not a soft touch in this country?